When the bell tolls 3 times, it will announce that I have been killed. If I am killed by common men, you and your children will rule Russia for centuries to come. If I am killed by one of your stock, you and your family will be killed by the Russian people. Pray, Tsar of Russia, pray.
Born in the frozen wilderness of Siberia in 1869, Grigori Rasputin was no ordinary man. Raised in the small village of Pokrovskoye, he was a peasant with no formal education, yet he possessed an uncanny ability to captivate those around him. As a child, he was said to have visions, glimpses into the divine, whispers from the unseen world. By his teenage years, Rasputin had developed a reputation as a mystic and wanderer. He left his family and embarked on a pilgrimage, seeking enlightenment in the isolated monasteries of Russia. Though he never became an ordained monk, his enigmatic aura grew. Stories spread of his ability to heal the sick, control animals with his gaze, and predict the future. Grigori Rasputin wasn't just a mystic. He was the leader of a devoted and almost fanatical following, operating like a cult leader at the heart of the Russian Empire. With his hypnotic stare, unshakable confidence, and radical beliefs, he gathered a circle of aristocrats, peasants, and influential women who worshipped him like a prophet. But was he a holy man, a manipulator, or something even darker? Let's get into it. Rasputin had the hallmarks of a classic cult leader: a self-proclaimed connection to the divine, an intense personal magnetism, and the ability to inspire firm devotion. His followers spoke of his piercing, almost hypnotic blue eyes. Many claimed that once Rasputin looked at you, you couldn't turn away. Some described feeling as if he could see into their souls. He exuded an unshakable confidence, a man who spoke with certainty about fate, God, and the apocalypse. He often said that the future of Russia depended on him. Whether real or illusionary, Rasputin's reputation as a miraculous healer made him seem untouchable. The Tsar's son, Alexei, suffered from hemophilia, and time and again Rasputin seemingly saved the boy's life, sometimes just through letters or prayers from a distance. To his followers, this was proof that he was a true prophet. Women, particularly nobles who viewed Rasputin as their direct channel to God, were among his devoted followers. They worshipped his touch and referred to him as Father. Many people thought that they could be purified of sin and disease only by being close to Rasputin. Members of the upper classes knelt before him, kissed his hands, and begged for his blessings. He persuaded them that they could only be genuinely saved by him. He rebranded sex as spiritual enlightenment. Rasputin preached that physical intimacy was a form of divine connection, convincing many that sleeping with him would bring them closer to God. Rasputin's parties made it difficult to distinguish between prayer groups and wild orgy parties. His disciples swayed and murmured in trance-like states as they participated in his covert candlelit prayer circles. In private, and frequently in the most intimate manner, women were encouraged to confess their sins to him. Rasputin wholeheartedly accepted the idea that in order to be genuinely pure, one must first succumb to temptation. Witnesses claimed these gatherings often ended in drunken celebrations and sexual encounters, which Rasputin framed as part of their spiritual journey. Rasputin's affair with Tsarina Alexandra was among the most scandalous parts of his life. Despite the lack of hard proof of a physical affair, their connection was unquestionably intimate and risky. Tsarina Alexandra was the head priestess of Rasputin's cult, if there was one. She was completely committed to him and his most powerful follower. She felt that Rasputin was sent by God to save the Russian monarchy and her family. Persuaded that his enemies were demonic entities attempting to overthrow Russia, she disregarded the scandals and charges against him. Even when ministers and nobles pleaded with her to sever relations, she refused to allow him to leave the court. To the Russian elite, it was clear Rasputin wasn't just influencing the Tsarina, He was controlling her. His whispers into her ear turned into real political decisions. Ministers were fired, officials were promoted, and Russia itself seemed to be under the spell of one man. Alexandra was a deeply religious woman who saw Rasputin as a messenger of God. When Rasputin appeared to miraculously heal her son, Alexei, from his near-fatal hemophilic attacks, she became utterly devoted to him. She referred to him as our friend and wrote him letters filled with praise and admiration. In one letter she wrote,
"How distraught I am without you. My soul is only at peace. I only rest when you, my teacher, are seated beside me, and I kiss your hands and lean my head on your blessed shoulders. Then I only have one wish, to sleep for centuries on your shoulders, in the embraces."
She believed that as long as Rasputin was alive, her son and the Romanov dynasty would be protected. The Russian elite were horrified by Alexandra's dependence on Rasputin, and rumors quickly spiraled out of control. The most shocking claim was that Rasputin and Alexandra were lovers. Satirical cartoons depicted Rasputin in bed with the Tsarina and even her daughters, fueling gossip and turning public opinion against the monarchy. Many believed that Rasputin's unchecked power over Alexandra was one of the key reasons for the Romanov downfall. Rasputin was known to frequent brothels and taverns where he drank excessively and engaged in sexual activities. His presence in these places was documented by both supporters and enemies alike. Many noblemen were furious at his increasing power and influence, believing that he was corrupting women of high status. They saw him as a threat to their families and the empire itself. Rasputin was the most despised person in the empire by 1916, when Russia was engulfed in the turmoil of World War I. He was hated by politicians, feared by nobles, and held responsible for the misery of the Russian people. A secret murder plot was set up. On the evening of December 30th, Rasputin was lured to the Yusupov Palace by Prince Felix Yusupov, one of Russia's richest men, and his assassins. He was invited in for a feast, which included wine and cakes laced with enough cyanide to kill 5 men. Rasputin, however, devoured both food and drinks, but nothing happened. The conspirators behaved erratically in fear. Yusupov shot Rasputin in the chest after drawing a pistol. He fell to the ground. When they examined his body hours later, his eyes opened up and he leapt at his murderers. More shots were fired, followed by a vicious thrashing. Nevertheless, he managed to hang on to life miraculously. When they completed their task, they covered his body with linen and threw him into the freezing Neva River. His hands were raised above his head when Rasputin's body was pulled out, giving the impression that he had attempted to claw his way out of the ice. Amazingly, his autopsy showed that he had water in his lungs. That implied that in spite of the poison, the gunfire, and the brutal beating, Rasputin was thrown into the river while still alive. Some claim that with his last breath, he cursed the Romanovs, and the Russian Revolution broke out a few months later. The royal family was put to death in a chilly cellar after the Tsar was overthrown. Did Rasputin's curse come true, or was it just a coincidence? Grigori Rasputin might have displayed characteristics of a god complex, which include an exaggerated feeling of divine purpose, superiority, and a firm belief in his own righteousness if psychiatrists today were to examine him. He considered himself a prophet, a healer, and a man selected by God, someone above and beyond the realm of human understanding. Even in the face of assassination attempts and aristocratic scorn, his undying trust betrays a grandiose self-image that verges on narcissistic personality disorder. However, Rasputin was more than just a self-proclaimed mystic. His charisma, intense gaze, and persuasive speech gave him a cult-like influence over people, particularly Tsarina Alexandra. He convinced her that he alone could protect her hemophilic son, solidifying his place at the heart of Russian politics. Whether he truly believed in his own divine powers or simply understood the psychology of persuasion is debatable, but his manipulative tendencies suggest an almost Machiavellian intelligence. Rasputin remains an enigma, either a man who played with fire and believed himself immune to the flames, or one who simply understood that belief is the greatest power of all. Perhaps his real trick was not surviving poison, bullets, or drowning, but convincing history that he was more than just a man.
I wish to make known to the Russian people, to Papa Nicholas II, the Russian mother, and to the children, to the land of Russia, what they must understand. If I am killed by common assassins, and especially by my brothers, the Russian peasants, you, Tsar of Russia, have nothing to fear. Remain on your throne and govern. But if I am murdered by nobles, and if they shed my blood, their hands will remain soiled with my blood, and for 25 years they will not wash their hands from my blood. They will leave Russia. Brothers will kill brothers. If it was your relations who have wrought my death, then no one of your family, that is to say, none of your children or relations, will remain alive for more than 2 years. They will be killed by the Russian people.
Was Rasputin Russia's last true mystic, or the greatest conman in history? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you love stories of power, mystery, and betrayal, don't forget to subscribe. Because in history, the truth is often stranger than fiction.